What if I told you that in less time than it takes to blink, an MLB hitter has to decide whether to swing at a 95-mile-per-hour fastball? Think about that. 0.4 of a second. That's all the time you get. You have to track the ball, recognize the pitch, judge its location, and then somehow get a 34-inch piece of wood on it. Sounds impossible? Welcome to Major League Hitting. Today, we're not talking about pitchers. We did that already. Today is about the brave, often crazy individuals who try to solve the puzzle of hitting a baseball. This is Hitting Explained. By the time we're done, you'll understand why Ted Williams' .406 batting average in 1941 still stands untouched, why Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak may never be broken, and why Shohei Ohtani is rewriting what it means to be a hitter in the modern game. Welcome to Strike Zone. Grab a bat, step into the box, and let's crush this. Every swing begins with something more basic than mechanics. It begins with physics. When a pitcher fires a fastball at 95 miles per hour, that ball is on the hitter in just over 0.4 of a second. In that blink-length moment, the hitter has to read the ball's spin, predict its movement, choose to swing or not, and then actually get the bat through the zone. It sounds humanly impossible, and for most of us, it is. Studies of elite hitters show their brains are wired differently. They process visual information faster. They notice tiny cues in a pitcher's delivery, the way his wrist turns, the way the ball leaves his fingers, the angle of the arm slot. They start their swing based on patterns and predictions as much as on reflex. That's why when you see a major leaguer take a mighty hack on a pitch that bounces in the dirt, it isn't always because they guessed wrong. Sometimes it's because they had to decide long before the ball actually arrived. In a sense, hitting isn't about reaction at all. It's all about anticipation. It's about training the brain and the eyes to read what's coming before it fully happens. That's what separates an ordinary hitter from a professional. Not just strength, not just bat speed, but vision and prediction operating in fractions of a second. Did you know the fastest recorded pitch ever turned into a hit came from Aroldis Chapman, who once unleashed a 105.1 mile per hour fastball? That's basically a blink and a half for the hitter. Most batters just hope to foul it off, but Martin Prado actually connected and lined it to left field. Scientists estimate that from release to contact, Prado had less than 0.38 seconds to react. That's less time than it takes to say fastball. What makes it wild is that Chapman's velocity wasn't even his limit. He later threw 105.8 miles per hour, the fastest pitch ever officially measured. Nobody's hit that one yet. Now let's talk about the invisible box that defines every hitter's life, the strike zone. Officially, Major League Baseball defines it as the space over home plate from the midpoint between the shoulders and the belt down to the hollow of the knee. That's the rulebook version. In reality, it's a moving target. The strike zone changes depending on a hitter's stance. Taller hitters naturally present a bigger zone. A crouched hitter can shrink it. And then there's the human element, the umpire. The truth is, no matter how official the definition is, every umpire sees the strike zone differently. Some squeeze it, some stretch it, and all of them have days when the corners feel wider or tighter than usual. Hitters study umpires just like they study pitchers. They know which ones call the high strike, which ones won't give the outside corner, and which ones will expand the zone if a pitcher keeps hitting a spot. And in today's world of instant replay and pitch tracking, the strike zone is more transparent than ever. But it's still subject to human interpretation. For hitters, the strike zone isn't just an outline, it's a battlefield. Managing it, working it, shrinking it, and expanding it with body language and discipline is one of the hidden arts of hitting. If you lined up 10 major leaguers in a batter's box, you'd probably see 10 completely different stances. Batting stances are like signatures. They're personal, unique, and sometimes downright bizarre. Ichiro Suzuki's stance was built for contact and speed. He stood almost ready to sprint, bat angled high, and used lightning-quick hands to slap hits all over the field. Jeff Bagwell crouched so low it looked like he was sitting on an invisible stool. Juan Soto brought showmanship with his famous Soto Shuffle, staring down pitchers between pitches like a gunslinger at high noon. And then there was Craig Counsell, holding his bat so high over his head that he looked more like an airport ground crew member than a ball player. The truth is, stances don't have to look pretty. They just have to work. They're about comfort, rhythm, and getting into a position that allows for consistent timing. Once the pitch is on its way, every stance flows into the same basic mechanics: a load, a stride, and a swing. But the starting point? That's pure individuality. And sometimes a stance becomes iconic. Ken Griffey Jr.'s swing wasn't just effective, it was art. Smooth, powerful, seemingly effortless. Gary Sheffield's constant bat waggle made pitchers and fans hold their breath before every pitch. Stances and swings reflect personality as much as ability. Did you know there was once a major leaguer who hit a home run on one leg? In 1988, Kirk Gibson, battling injuries so severe he could barely walk, stepped up in the World Series against Dennis Eckersley. Everyone assumed he couldn't play, but with 2 outs and the tying run on base, Gibson somehow launched a slider into the right field bleachers. The image of him limping around the bases, pumping his fist, is one of baseball's most iconic moments. It wasn't just guts. It was proof that hitting isn't always about mechanics. Sometimes it's pure willpower. So what actually happens when the ball leaves the pitcher's hand and the hitter decides to go for it? A swing is a chain reaction. First comes the load. The hitter shifts weight back, coiling energy like a spring. Then comes the stride, a small step forward to time the pitch. The hips rotate, followed by the torso, then the arms. The bat whips through the zone and for a split second, bat meets ball. That moment of contact is where all the physics live. The angle of the bat, the speed of the swing, the exact spot on the barrel. All of it determines whether the ball dribbles weakly into the infield or rockets into the seats. Finally comes the follow-through, which isn't just for style. It carries momentum, maintains balance, and often protects the body from injury. In modern baseball, 2 stats dominate the hitting conversation: exit velocity and launch angle. Exit velocity is how fast the ball comes off the bat. Launch angle is the vertical angle it leaves at. Put them together and you get the recipe for home runs. The sweet spot? A ball hit around 100 miles per hour at an angle of about 20 degrees. That's when fans in the outfield start ducking. Ted Williams, who literally wrote the book on hitting, believed in hitting the ball hard and hitting it where fielders weren't. He focused on line drives and precision. Today, hitters are encouraged to elevate more. The philosophy has shifted from hit it hard anywhere to hit it hard in the air. Here's where the philosophy split. Contact hitters are artists of precision. They focus on putting the ball in play, avoiding strikeouts, and keeping the line moving. Tony Gwynn was the master of this approach, finishing with a career batting average of .338 and striking out less in 20 seasons than some modern players do in a single year. Ichiro was cut from the same cloth, using speed and control to rack up over 3,000 hits in the majors. Power hitters, on the other hand, swing for the fences. Babe Ruth revolutionized baseball by turning it into a power game, and modern sluggers like Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton carry that legacy. They strike out more often, sure, but when they connect, the ball doesn't just land, it explodes. In today's analytics-driven game, power tends to win out. Home runs are efficient run producers, and walks are nearly as valuable as singles. But the art of contact hitting hasn't died completely. Teams still need players who can battle tough at-bats, foul off pitches, and move runners when the home run isn't there. Baseball is a game of matchups, and nowhere is that clearer than in the battle of lefties and righties. Conventional wisdom says hitters perform better against pitchers who throw with the opposite hand. A right-handed batter usually prefers facing a left-handed pitcher, and vice versa. That's because breaking balls move toward them rather than away, and pitches are easier to see coming from the opposite angle. Managers build entire lineups around these splits. They'll pinch hit in late innings, shuffle lineups before games, and use relievers strategically just to gain a small advantage. And while most hitters follow the pattern, exceptions always exist. Some players hit equally well no matter who's on the mound. Manny Ramirez in his prime, for example, didn't care which arm the ball came out of, he just hit. If mechanics are half the battle, psychology is the other half. Ted Williams once said that hitting was largely about discipline, waiting for your pitch. That means patience, pitch recognition, and confidence. Hitters study pitchers relentlessly. They look for tells, little giveaways in mechanics that hint at what's coming. They memorize tendencies. This pitcher likes to throw sliders when ahead in the count. That one goes to the fastball when in trouble. Every clue helps. Then there's the mental roller coaster of slumps and streaks. When a hitter is locked in, the ball looks like a beach ball. When they're slumping, it looks like a marble. Confidence can evaporate overnight. That's why plate discipline is so important. Drawing a walk not only helps the team, it can rebuild confidence. Joey Votto once said walks are underrated because they prove you didn't let the pitcher beat you. In a game of failure, that's victory. Did you know Ted Williams had 20/10 vision? That means he could see details at 20 feet that most people need to be 10 feet away to notice. Williams claimed he could literally see the ball's red stitches spinning as it approached. Science backs him up. Elite hitters tend to have exceptional visual acuity and depth perception. Modern vision training programs now try to replicate that advantage using strobe glasses and laser drills to sharpen focus. Some players, like Mookie Betts, credit these tools with improving their reaction time. In baseball, the eyes are as valuable as the hands. Every era has its icons. Babe Ruth transformed baseball from a small ball sport into a power showcase. Ted Williams remained the last player to hit over 400 in a season. His eyesight so sharp he swore he could see the laces on the ball. Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak still stands as one of the most unbreakable records in sports history. Ichiro Suzuki brought a new kind of artistry from Japan, spraying hits with surgical precision and collecting more combined professional hits worldwide than anyone in history. Barry Bonds, no matter your opinion on him, terrified pitchers more than anyone ever had, walking over 200 times in a single season because opponents simply refused to challenge him. And then there's Shohei Ohtani, who doesn't just hit towering home runs, he also strikes out hitters as one of the game's best pitchers. He's a modern marvel, a reminder that baseball's boundaries are always expanding. And now it's time for a little break. Step right up for some batting trivia. The longest home run ever measured in the StatCast era was Giancarlo Stanton's 504-foot blast at Coors Field in 2016. Mickey Mantle once reportedly hit one 565 feet in 1953, though measuring methods back then were less precise. Nomar Garciaparra became so famous for adjusting his batting gloves between pitches that it was practically part of his swing. Pablo Sandoval once swung at a pitch that bounced before the plate and somehow turned it into a base hit. And if you ever hear the term golden sombrero, that's the honor no hitter wants. 4 strikeouts in one game. Even the greats wear it sometimes. And now, back to the action. Thanks, announcer guy. Today's hitters live in the StatCast era. Every swing is measured, tracked, and analyzed. Launch angle and exit velocity are the buzzwords. Hitters know exactly how hard and at what angle the ball leaves their bat. Analysts break it down to find what's most effective. The new philosophy? Elevate and celebrate. Ground balls are largely out. Fly balls and line drives win. Numbers prove that lifting the ball in the air at the right angle and speed produces more runs than old-school grounders. Not everyone loves it. Some argue analytics have ruined situational hitting. But front offices see results. Home runs and walks carry more value than stringing together singles. Like it or not, data has reshaped hitting forever. Not all bats are created equal. For decades, ash wood was the standard. Light, flexible, forgiving. Then came maple, harder and denser, producing more pop but prone to shattering. Birch offers a middle ground. Players choose based on preference, weight distribution, and feel. Corked bats? Yeah, they've been tried. Sammy Sosa was caught with one in 2003. The science says it doesn't really help much. If anything, it makes the bat weaker. But the myth persists. And aluminum bats? Forget it. They're allowed in college ball but banned in the majors. With exit velocities already exceeding 110 miles per hour off wood, an aluminum bat in MLB would turn every at-bat into a public safety hazard. Did you know the sweet spot on a bat, the area that produces the best sound, feel, and distance, is only about 2 inches long? Hit just below it and you'll jam your hands. Hit above it and you'll get that dull thunk that dies in the infield. But when you connect perfectly, that's physics magic. The energy transfer efficiency on a perfect hit is so high that almost none of the vibration reaches the hands. That's why a well-struck ball feels like nothing. It's the most satisfying nothing in sports, and the reason hitters chase that sensation every single at-bat. Now, hitters don't just swing at balls, they battle arsenals. Fastballs are the easiest to see but the hardest to catch up to at top velocity. Sliders look like fastballs until they dart away. Changeups mimic fastballs, then die mid-flight. Splitters simply vanish. That's why hitting is called a game of failure. Even the best hitters in history only succeed 3 times out of 10. That means 7 failures out of every 10 tries. And that's greatness. Imagine if a surgeon failed 70% of the time. He'd lose his job. In baseball, like Smash Mouth said, "Hey now, you're an all-star." Did you know that some hitters absolutely refuse to face knuckleball pitchers? The pitch spins so little that it flutters unpredictably through the air, dancing on invisible currents. Even catchers have nightmares about it. Many teams assign a specific knuckleball catcher just to handle the chaos. Hall of Famer Ted Williams once joked that hitting a knuckleball was like trying to eat Jell-O with chopsticks. When R.A. Dickey won the Cy Young Award in 2012 throwing almost nothing but knucklers, hitters said it felt like trying to swat a butterfly with a broomstick. Baseball players are nothing if not superstitious, and hitters might be the quirkiest of them all. Wade Boggs famously ate chicken before every game. Ichiro followed the same stretching routine with almost religious devotion. And then there was Nomar, still tugging at his gloves between every pitch. Eye black? Some say it cuts glare. Others just think it looks cool. Superstitions and rituals keep players anchored in a game defined by failure. They're habits that provide comfort, consistency, and maybe just a little bit of luck. No hitter is immune to slumps. A few bad games can spiral into weeks of frustration. Suddenly, the ball looks smaller, your swing feels heavier, and every out deepens the hole. But the opposite can happen too. One bloop single can turn into confidence, and confidence can turn into a streak where every ball seems destined for the gap. Joe DiMaggio's 56-game streak in 1941 remains the gold standard. For nearly 2 months, he recorded at least 1 hit in every game. No one has come particularly close since. In today's strikeout-heavy environment, it's likely never to be broken. And then there are clutch moments, the kind that define careers. Kirk Gibson, hobbling on one good leg, hitting a game-winning homer in the 1988 World Series. David Ortiz in October, turning late-inning pressure into fireworks. Some hitters just thrive when the moment is biggest. That's clutch. So where is hitting going? Pitchers keep throwing harder, developing nastier breaking balls, and working with the same analytics that hitters do. The arms race continues. To keep up, hitters train with new technology. Virtual reality systems let them practice against digital versions of pitchers. Biomechanics labs analyze swings frame by frame to tweak efficiency. Computers may one day design the perfect swing, but baseball will always resist perfection. There will always be quirks, individuality, and human unpredictability. Rule changes matter too. The shift ban introduced in 2023 gave hitters more opportunities for singles. The pitch clock forces pitchers to keep tempo, preventing them from stalling out batters. These changes tilt the balance slightly back toward offense. No matter how the future unfolds, the challenge remains the same. Less than half a second to make the most difficult decision in sports: swing or don't swing. And that, my friends, is Hitting Explained. From Ruth to Williams, from DiMaggio to Ichiro, from Barry Bonds to Shohei Ohtani, hitting isn't just about brute force. It's about anticipation, vision, mechanics, psychology, and sometimes just sheer luck. Think about it. In the time it takes you to blink, an MLB hitter decides to risk it all. And when it works, when that ball screams off the bat at 110 miles per hour and lands in the seats, we're reminded why baseball is the most beautiful kind of impossible. So here's the deal. Hit subscribe like it's a hanging curveball begging to be crushed. Ring the bell so you never miss a swing. And drop a comment telling us whose swing you think is the most beautiful in baseball history. Because baseball never sleeps. And here at Strike Zone, neither do we.